I loved your descriptions of how you worked with Silence of the Lambs and Jodie Foster, playing that role and what was good, what was bad. So what was some of the highlights and the lowlights of working at the BSU?
Well, just to go over the daily type of things, if you will, as you well know, it was kind of a think tank group approach. When officers were coming down to get, let's just say, offender traits and characteristics on a case, it wasn't the Jana Monroe show. They weren't just coming to see me. So we would invite other members of the unit on certain cases. So that's why we got so much exposure to so many cases, because I'm a compulsive note taker. So I worked on over 850 cases, but they weren't all mine. Again, I would be
Right.
invited in with somebody else's. Some of it might just be for an hour for an interview, technique, those kinds of things. So it was never a dull moment, but it could be a little overwhelming sometimes.
Right.
And really some of the very gruesome cases and looking at the ones that, and I'll just use Ted Bundy because people he's got name recognition.
Right.
But you look at some of the things and the victims and what he did post-mortem activity and the talk about premeditation. He would search out the body disposal sites before he selected his, looking for, okay, did the police make routes here? This is remote. I can get on this road and get away. So, and he indicated in later interviews with Bill Hagmeyer, that's one of the reasons he thought he was so successful is he thought about big picture long before he actually committed the crime. So interviewing people like that and hearing up close and personal people describe what they did and not having any emotion about it, it would be like, I'd say, "Hey, Robin, nice haircut." And you'd say, "Yeah, so-and-so's my barber." And it would be that kind of a cadence, that lack of emotion. And they would be talking about dismembering someone or stabbing them and stab wounds to the hilt. And that was something that I really had to learn to take, I don't want to say in stride, but of course you can't react to that kind
Right.
of information because I'm trying to get more of it. I'm trying to elicit what they might know introspectively. So that was, I think, the most challenging part initially.
How did you learn that?
Again, kind of being stoic and keeping focused on the mission. So why am I here? I want information on this heinous crime or crimes that this person has. Right. So keep on that, appeal to the ego. That was the amazing thing. The FBI they didn't have any authority to have a stay of execution, to switch somebody from prisons, to order better meals for them. There was nothing like that. So we took the approach that you had to appeal to their ego, right? Gee, you've been great at this. You didn't get caught. You had to turn yourself in. Could you give us? We'd really like to learn from you. You're going to be an excellent teacher. And to my surprise, that seemed to work most of the time.
You made it about them. Crazy,
Yes.
isn't
All
it?
about them. Yes.
What
Yeah.
kind of things was this doing to you personally, you think?
I didn't recognize it at the time. I get very busy schedule, right? And I used to, not so much anymore. I love that cadence, going from one thing to another to another. So I didn't think it was intentionally, but I didn't focus on me.
Right.
I didn't have those little check-ins myself. And it was my husband that started noticing later on that there were some things that I was doing that he said, "Well, that's not normal. You want to you want me to give you a for instance?"
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So I'd worked on, it was like 3 different cases in 1 week where the victims, all female, had been killed by knives in their own home. So it was a weapon of opportunity. The offender didn't bring the knife to there. And they had all been very low risk victims. They were people that we were told later wouldn't just open the door at 1 in the morning to anybody and had people security oriented. So for some reason, and Dale was gone. He was on a 55-day mission, this little thing called the Waco. And so he was gone for a while.
And
And
and I don't say it in a bad way. I said it before we started the show, is like you and Dale together are like the Forrest Gumps of the FBI. You've literally been part of so many big cases, so many instrumental parts of American history. It's dumbfounding. Anyway, keep going.
yeah, I was going to say we were never bored, never bored. But anyway, so I'm alone, and I'm not afraid, but I'm situationally aware. And I thought, you know what? If somebody breaks into my house, they're going to have to bring their own knife. I'm not going to leave our knives out. So we had those little Tupperware things that your knives are in, and then the steak things that are outside in a block. So I
Right.
took all of those things. We lived in a 3-story townhouse, took them down to the basement and put them in the dryer. My thought process was if somebody breaks in, they're never going to look in the dryer. So I forgot to take them out of the dryer. And then I was doing a prison interview at a female prison. Dale comes home and he's a gourmet cook. He was going to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Gourmet good.
Wanted a knife. So he called me and said, "You used to have a bunch of knives. Where are they?" And I said, "Oh, they're in the dryer." And he didn't say a word. And he said, "You know what? We're going to talk. There's a few other things too, but we're going to talk when you get home." Yeah, those were some of the effects. And I
Those are
mentioned that
clues.
to Jodie Foster when you had mentioned coaching her. I wanted to say training, but coaching her
Right.
for her role as Clarisse Starling. And I did, discuss some of the things because she had asked that question. Well, some of this has to have some kind of an impact on you. And I said, yeah, but I haven't been the one to point it out in myself. Unfortunately, it's been others.